Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Bon matin à tous. My name is Greg McLean. I am the chair of the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Moncton. It's my pleasure to convene the 130th Annual General Meeting. I welcome you and thank you for being present today. This year, our AGM looks a little different. For the second consecutive year, COVID-19 has ruined any plan for an in-person AGM, and so we have remained virtual for 2021. Today's meeting will include live parts where we ask you as chamber members to vote on motions, as well as some pre-recorded sections where various chamber board members and staff will deliver reports and remarks covering the chamber's year in 2020. As a participant, you will have your microphone, camera, and chat option turned off, but you can always ask a question using the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. When we call for a motion to be moved or seconded, I will ask for you to click on the raise your hand option also at the bottom of the screen. The first hand pressed will become the mover of the motion. The second hand raised will be the seconder. Some of you using an older version of Zoom may not see the raise your hand option. If this is the case, you can use Alt-Y and that will perform the same function. Just click the Alt key and Y key again to lower your hand. After our motion is moved and seconded, a pop-up window will appear on your screen that will ask you to vote yay or nay, yes or no, to each motion. We will then display or relay the vote result to you immediately after voting closes. Before we go further in on the meeting, I want to acknowledge that we've been told there's an active shooter situation taking place in the Centennial Park, Millennium Boulevard region of town. Obviously, we want everyone to stay safe, and we ask you to monitor all messages that may be going out on Twitter or the emergency response app on your telephone while we're in the midst of proceeding with this AGM. Now to the business of hand. The first order of business is adoption of our agenda. Copies of the agenda were circulated last week by email to all members. Now I'll need a member to move and second this and each motion presented today. You can indicate you will move or second a motion by clicking on the raise your hand button now at the bottom of your screen. May we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Greg, it's been moved by Tom Badger.
May I have a seconder?
It's been seconded by Victor Boudreau.
Now the pop-up window displays the voting option in your screen. Those in favor vote A, those opposed, nay. Motion carried, motion adopt A. Our bylaws state we must have a minimum of 12 members present to constitute quorum. I see that minimum has been well exceeded. As such, I declare this meeting duly constituted. The minutes of the 129th Annual General Meeting have been distributed via email. May I have a motion to adopt them as presented?
Greg, it's been moved by Valerie Higgins.
And a seconder?
By Terry Malley.
The pop-up vote is now displayed. All those in favor vote A, those against, nay. Motion has been carried. Motion adopt A. Our next item of business is to ratify the actions of the Board of Directors since our last annual general meeting in June 2020. May I have a motion to ratify the decisions and actions of the board since the last AGM?
It's been moved by Bill Hennessy.
May I have a seconder?
Seconded by Susan Edgett.
The question is displayed now on your screens. All those in favor, vote yay. Any against, vote nay. Motion carried. Motion adopted. It is now my pleasure to introduce Michelle Duffy, Chair of our Nominations Committee, to deliver the nominations report.
Good morning. It is my pleasure as Chair of the Nominations Committee of the Board to present this elections report to the AGM. In accordance with Article 9 of our Ccgm bylaws, a nominating committee consisting of the chair and at least 2 other members of the board was constituted no later than the end of January of this year. The nominating committee nominated members of the Chamber who indicated their willingness to serve a 1-year term of office on the board as elected directors. A notice to all Chamber members seeking an expression of interest in serving was circulated earlier this year. In accordance with our bylaws, the nominating committee sent a primary ballot to all members setting out the committee's slate and inviting independent nominations 30 days prior to the circulation of a final election ballot. Independent nominations to the board by members were then accepted for a period ending 20 days prior to the mailing of the final election ballot. A final election ballot was then sent to each member in good standing not less than 1 week prior to today's AGM. Since no independent nominations were received by the board within the prescribed time period, the nominees set out in the board slate are declared duly elected members of the Chamber Board. There is no provision in our bylaws for nominations from the floor of the AGM. With that long preamble, it gives me great pleasure to announce the nominated election slate of 12 individuals who have agreed to stand as directors of the Ccgm for the 2021-2022 year. Greg McLean of McGuinness Cooper, reoffering. David Adams of Medavie Blue Cross, reoffering. Michelle Duffy of the Lounsbury Group, reoffering. Carol Vautour of TD Equipment Finance, reoffering. Glenn Rollins of Eastlink, reoffering. Mathieu Mackay, the Mortgage Group, reoffering. Bill Hennessy of Colliers International New Brunswick, reoffering. Catherine Basham of Brainworks is reoffering. Tara Salos of Wawanesa Insurance is reoffering. Stacy Stewart of NCM Associates, reoffering. Courtney Burns of the Greater Moncton Romeo LeBlanc International Airport is a new candidate. And Matt Carter of Amista Credit Union, new candidate. The ex officio directors are Geneviève Laforge, who remains as past chairperson of the board, our CEO, John Wishart, Kevin Siliker, representing the City of Moncton, Talia Furlat, representing the town of Riverview, and Robert Audoux, representing La Ville de Dieppe. We are saying farewell to 2 directors this year, David Shin and Patricia Guittard. Both of these wonderful people joined the board in 2016. David was member of the Events and Membership Committee. He was always asked insightful questions and is a strong voice for the downtown community and for newcomers to our region. Be sure to visit David at his downtown shop, C'est la Vie Café. Patricia was chair of the Events Committee and provided guidance and strong leadership to that team. She is a champion of the Chamber, and we know that we will continue to work with her in the years ahead. Thank you both for your time and your service. At this time, I would like to note that the executive of the Ccgm remains unchanged from the previous year. Greg McLean will serve as chair, myself will serve as vice chair, and Carol Vautour will serve as secretary and treasurer. Since there is no change in the chamber officers, there is also no need for a swearing-in process this year. So can I have a motion to approve the slate of directors as presented?
Moved by Pierre Bada,
And may I have a seconder?
seconded by Don Moore.
And we will now have a vote. So all those in favor can click yay, and all those opposed can click nay. So the motion is carried. Motion adoptée.
I will now ask Carol Vautour, our treasurer, to give an overview of our 2020 finances. She will be followed by Sean Green of Teal Green Chartered Professional Accountants, who will present the 2020 audited financial statements.
"2020 has been a challenging year for all of us. The Chamber of Commerce for Greater Moncton has been virtually present during this pandemic for our members and community. L'année 2020 a été un défi pour nous tous. La Chambre de commerce pour le Grand Moncton a eu une présence de taille pendant cette pandémie auprès de nos membres et notre communauté. At the early stages of the pandemic, we have elaborated a few scenarios on the financial outcome. Planning and readjusting became a fine art. We rely on a great team at the Chamber and have good results to show from all these efforts. Overall, our total revenues were down by approximately $340,000 compared to previous year, excluding the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy of $121,000. Most of the decrease is attributed to events being canceled or postponed. We started to host some events only in the later part of 2020. Thanks to the support from our members, the membership revenue have held at $285,726. The investment income has also held steady from 2019 to $42,579. On the expense side, we saw a significant saving with actual expenses running to $245,077 under budget. With the government assistance, we were able to finish the year with an excess of revenues of $43,737, greater than the excess of 2019 at $25,255. Nous avons terminé 2020 avec un revenu net de $43 737, supérieur à celui de l'an précédent qui était de $25 255, grâce à l'assistance gouvernementale. The budgeting for 2021 has been done with several assumptions of what will be permitted during the year. March year to date, we are trending on budget with revenues of $156,000 versus a budget of $154,000 and a net income of $19,000 versus a budget of $5,000. On a travaillé sur le budget de 2021 avec plusieurs hypothèses pendant cette deuxième année de pandémie. À la fin mars, nos résultats intérimaires démontrent des revenus de $156 000 versus un budget de $154 000 et un revenu net de $19 000 versus un budget de $5 000. Thank you. Merci.
Morning. My name is Sean Green and I'm with Teal Green Chartered Professional Accountants. We have audited the financial statements of the Chamber of Commerce for Greater Moncton as at December 31st, 2020 and for the year then ended. It is our opinion that financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Chamber and the results of its operations, changes in net assets, and cash flows for the year. We conducted our audit in accordance with Canadian Generally Accepted Auditing Standards. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is appropriate to form the basis of our opinion. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations, as well as for such internal control they deem necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. Those charged with governance are responsible for overseeing the Chamber's financial reporting process. Assuming approval by the members, our report will bear today's date.
May I have a motion to adopt the 2020 audited financial statements as presented?
Moved by Lorraine Byron,
Can I have a seconder?
seconded by Francis LeBlanc.
And the question is on the screen. All in favor, click on yay, and opposed, click on nay, please. Motion carried, motion adopté. May I now have a motion to reappoint Teal Green Chartered Professional Accountants as auditors for 2021?
Moved by Miranda Allen,
And can I have a seconder?
seconded by Anne Poirier-Basque.
And the question is now on the screen. All in favor, click on yay, and opposed, click on nay. Motion carried, motion adopté.
Now I'd like to introduce Greg Landry from National Bank to present the Trust Performance Report.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Greg Landry. I'm an investment advisor with National Bank Financial. I am here this morning to present to you the annual results for 2020 for the Greater Moncton Chamber of Commerce Trust. I remind everyone that the Greater Moncton Chamber of Commerce Trust account is managed by the Private Council Department of National Bank Financial. The market value of the portfolio on the 1st of January 2020 was $1,086,802. On December 31st, 2020, it was $1,161,862. During the year, capital appreciation and income totaled $114,417, with income of $33,570 and capital appreciation of $80,846. Total withdrawals in 2020 was $28,281. The total net return of the portfolio for calendar year 2020 was 10.16%. Also, the account has an investment policy statement that was adopted in August of 2016 that established performance objectives as well as asset allocation parameters. In calendar year 2020, both of these were respected. On the performance side, the rolling 3-year rate of return, the IPS has a target rate of between 3 and 5%. And the average rate of return for the 3 years ending December 31st, 2020 was 6.58. The asset allocation was also respected within the year and ended the year at 36% cash and fixed income, 15% Canadian equity, 20% US equity, 23% international equity, and 6% alternative investments. I would like to just mention a few things about the presentation that I would have given last year on or about May 27th. And these comments are relating to the effects of the COVID pandemic on the value of the portfolio. So when I gave this presentation last year on or about the 27th of May, I mentioned these following numbers, that the first quarter of last year, so January 1st through the end of March 2020, the account had a performance of negative 10.5%. By the time the presentation was made in May, the account had a performance of minus 2.4. So from the end of March till the end of May, we had already recovered 8% of the 10% that we had lost. Now here we are looking at the complete year all the way till December 31st, and we see a performance which is above 10%. So at one point we were down 10% and we end the year at 10%, which is proof that to have faith in the markets and to have faith in properly diversified portfolio usually gives good results, and that has been the case again this time. So I end my presentation at this point, and as is always the case, if there are any questions, please do direct them through the Chamber of Commerce, and I will be more than happy to answer those questions for you. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
I invite now Bill Dixon, Chair of the Chamber Trust Committee, to report on this year's scholarships.
Good morning, everyone. As Chair of the Chamber's Trust Committee, I have the pleasure of announcing this year's scholarship winners and presenting them to you. Each of the scholarship winners will receive $1,000. First off, I'd like to acknowledge the selection committee for the work that they've done. The committee made up of this year, we're made up of Gilda Ryder of Crandall University, Carol Murphy of NBCC Moncton campus, Heath Johnson, Olton College, Manon Cormier-Ville, University of Moncton, and Marie-Pierre Martin, Assumption V. Marie-Pierre is also a member of our trust committee. So thank you all. This year's selection committee has done a fine job in their selections for the Chamber's 2021 scholarships. I know from my past experience, there are so many great applications, and just getting it down to 3 is a very difficult task. So again, I thank you for it. What always impressed me is when I was reviewing the applications was the leadership qualities that the candidates exhibit and the confidence in which they pursue their activities and plan their futures. They are respected not only by their teachers, but they're looked upon by their peers for their leadership. This year's winners, no exception. So let's take a few moments and meet those candidates. The first recipient of a Chamber Scholarship is a student who's currently enrolled in the kinesiology program at the University of Moncton in her 3rd year. After completing her bachelor's degree, she wants to pursue a master's with another 2 years at the University of Ottawa. Her plan is to become an occupational therapist and then perhaps opening up her own occupational therapy clinic. She's been involved in school committees like School Spirit, events, prom, yearbook, and graduation. She did a school exchange in Bordeaux, France, and participated as a community service volunteer in India. She is a family connections volunteer at Magna. All this, as well as holding down part-time employment. Join me in congratulating Samantha Blanchette. The second scholarship winner is a student graduating from Moncton High School in June. She will attend university in Wolfville at Acadia, where she will pursue a bachelor's degree also in kinesiology. After completing her bachelor's degree, she plans as well to attend 2 years to complete her master's degree, no school chosen at this point. Her end goal with her studies is to work as a physiotherapist and to help others as she has been helped. She is currently the vice president of the grad class council, and she has also been involved in school leadership council and event planning since junior high school. And she has been part of the Danseiste dance troupe since the age of 5, and she was also captain of the school's dragon boat race team, which raised nearly $18,000. Please join me in congratulating Erin Dupuis. The third recipient is a student graduating from Moncton Christian Academy in June. In the fall, she'll be attending Crandall University, where she will obtain a Bachelor of Arts degree majoring in history. Completing this degree will be the first step in achieving her career goal, which at this point is to become a history teacher, a history professor, or perhaps even a museum curator, all with the aim of preserving the historical record. Once she obtains her Bachelor of Arts, she'll be applying for the Crandall University Oxford program, where she hopes to have an opportunity to study a semester in England and visit many historical sites. She has been involved with the Petitcodiac Baptist Church from a very young age. She currently is the senior puppeteer. She's a teacher in the junior church program, leadership in the children's choreography program, and many more activities within her church. Please join me in congratulating Alec McDonald. Ladies and gentlemen, there are your 2021 Chamber of Commerce scholarship winners. Congratulations to all.
At this time, I would ask our CEO, John Wishart, to present his overview of the past year.
Good morning, everyone. Bon matin à tous. When I sat down to write this message, I struggled to find just the right word to describe 2020, or at least one that I could use in a public setting that wouldn't offend anyone. From a business perspective, it's been challenging, costly, exhausting, and perhaps forgettable. When I reflect on the Chamber year in 2020, I prefer another word: resilient. C'est le mot que nous avons utilisé comme thème de prix d'excellence en affaires 2020 et je crois qu'il représente bien la communauté d'affaires de Grand Moncton au cours de la dernière année. We have persevered despite some enormous challenges, and while there have been business casualties due to COVID-19, just as there have been personal loss, we are emerging more resilient than ever from the pandemic. At the Ccgm, we focused our efforts in 2020 on communication and advocacy. Nous avons créé des bulletins quotidiens d'information par courriel sur le dernier programme de la santé publique et d'aide aux entreprises. We worked the phones, email, and twisted the arms of politicians to squeeze more support for our hardest hit sectors. And we also took time to celebrate, because that's still important even in tough times. While 2020 was all about resilience, we think 2021 will be about recovery. I've described dealing with the pandemic as a bit like running a marathon, but never quite being able to see the finish line. The fog of COVID-19 still hasn't completely cleared, but as the vaccines slowly win the war over variants, I think we are close to winning the longest race of our business lives. Je crois qu'un signe important que la communauté d'affaires de Grand Moncton est résiliente peut s'illustrer par la quantité de membres de notre Chambre. I've talked to many of my Chamber colleagues across the country over recent weeks, and they've told me that they have lost on average between 10 and 12% of their members during the pandemic. At the Ccgm, we lost a net of 6 members out of nearly 800 last year, for a less than 1% cancellation rate. Je pense que c'est un témoignage de notre communauté d'affaires et aussi du travail acharné du personnel de la Chambre qui a fait la transition pour fournir un appui essentiel quand cela était nécessaire. We continue to do that in many ways, including through our involvement in the Southeast Economic Recovery Task Force, the Southeast Labour Market Partnership, the Greater Moncton Local Immigration Strategy, and a series of other business initiatives, all working to make New Brunswick a better place to live and to do business. I want to give a personal thanks to our staff at the Chamber for their efforts this year. There was nothing to help us prepare for that day in March 2020 when our world changed. To Xavier Infantas and Mireille Thibault of our events team, who quickly adapted to the new world by moving our events online and creating engaging content. To Sylvain Montraille, our Director of Communications and Policy, who relied on his journalism background to deliver those daily email updates and work with me on many advocacy efforts. And to Natasha Pettigrew, the glue at our office, who keeps everything moving smoothly each day from an administrative standpoint. Je tiens également à saluer Ben Galland, qui nous a quittés la semaine dernière après plus de 3 ans en tant que directeur d'adhésion et de soutien aux entreprises. Il a joué un rôle clé pour maintenir le nombre de membres que nous avons encore aujourd'hui. I also want to thank our board of directors who were there when we needed them to offer support and guidance, but also gave the staff the flexibility to move quickly to respond to our member needs throughout the year. As that COVID-19 fog continues to clear, we can't be completely sure what lies ahead, but I am confident It includes better days for our community. Greater Moncton had emerged as the economic engine of New Brunswick pre-pandemic, and there's every reason to believe we will continue to be that leader in the years ahead. Merci à tous les membres de la Chambre d'être l'essence qui permet à ce moteur économique de bien fonctionner. Thank you to all members of the Chamber who are that fuel in our economic engine. Together, we will power our community down a long and winding road of success. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. I'm sure Greater Moncton and Sackville business community are grateful for the excellent work you and your team are doing. I would also like to thank ExploreNet, the sponsor of this year's AGM.
Every business should have access to high-speed internet, no matter where they are. But getting fast speeds in rural Canada hasn't always been easy, which meant less reliability and connectivity. But not any longer. ExploreNet Enterprise Solutions has the network to help you do business virtually anywhere in Canada. With our extensive fiber, fixed wireless, and next-generation satellites, we're bringing the high speeds of the big city to small towns, tiny towns, and no towns. ExploreNet Enterprise Solutions gives you the kind of high-speed internet your business can rely on, so you can stay productive and stay connected across single and multiple locations. Plus, with our 24/7 dedicated support centers and coast-to-coast dealer network, help is never far away, whether it's Dave in Portage-la Prairie,
Hey, this is Dave.
or Katie in Ontario.
Hi.
No matter your business size or location, get connected with ExploreNet Enterprise Solutions.
This year, we're very pleased to present a guest speaker for our AGM. This year marks a rare alignment of the sun, moon, and earth. So the chair of the Greater Moncton Chamber, that's me, Atlantic Chamber, Steve Lund of Deloitte, and Canadian Chamber of Commerce Board, Mario Terrio, are all from Greater Moncton. We are honored today that Mario has joined us as National Chamber Chair to share a few thoughts about the priorities of the Chamber network at the national level, how local and the National Chamber work together, and perhaps a few words on what the future might bring as we emerge from the pandemic. Mario Terrio is Chief Business Development Officer of the LAC Group, a global leading information service provider. Prior to holding this position, he was CEO and founder of Shift Central Inc., one of North America's leading independent market intelligence agencies, based right here in Moncton, and with an office in New York City. LAC Group acquired Shift Central in 2019 and serves custom information products and services to leading organizations in the banking and financial services, health and life sciences, professional services, telecom, IT, and government sectors. Throughout his career as an entrepreneur and executive, Mario has overseen every aspect of business, from mergers and financial matters to marketing, human capital, partnerships, and innovation. Mario completed ICD's Director's Executive Program at Rotman and obtained his ICDD designation in 2019. He holds a Bachelor in Social Sciences from the Université de Moncton. He has also been very active in his community for over 20 years, with a special interest in economic development and issues and the arts. This engagement also includes an ongoing relationship with his alma mater. Mario is also a published author with 3 books of poetry and 1 book of short stories. He is the recipient of the Prix France Acadie for Terre sur Mer short stories published in 1999. Mario, welcome to our AGM. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Greg. It's very kind. I thought you were talking about someone else, but I'll take it. A few notes of introduction. D'abord, merci de l'invitation. Et aussi, d'emblée, je voudrais dire qu'il est très touchant de participer à la 129e réunion annuelle de la Chambre de commerce du Grand Moncton. Comme un fier membre de ma communauté, je trouve que c'est un témoignage extraordinaire sur la résilience de la communauté, la résilience des gens d'affaires. Et ça apporte une certaine fierté, je suis sûr que vous ressentez tous et toutes comme moi. I've got some advertisements to make also. Bill Hennessy sent me a text just a few minutes earlier saying that I needed to say that I was in his building and he would pay me $20 to say so. So we are in this great space on Victoria Street and bringing our colleagues back to the office like many other businesses are doing, I'm sure. I'm also happy to see my friend Greg Landry, and I can sort of talk to him and he cannot reply right now because he was on tape. So that gives me some strategic advantage. Mais plus sérieusement, j'aimerais parler de quelques éléments de 2020 de la Chambre de commerce du Canada et sa relation avec la Chambre de commerce du Grand Moncton et les opportunités que l'on peut identifier pour les années à venir pour notre communauté. So I'm very happy to be from Canada to Moncton. It's been my only travel this year over the last 14 months. So you probably have cabin fever like I have, and we're looking forward to seeing our friends and seeing the world again. But more seriously, there's been a bunch of stuff that COVID has uncovered for the Chamber Network and the Canadian Chamber, and I'd like to share a few of them with you. Pour ceux qui pensent que la communauté d'affaires est plutôt égoïste et s'intéresse seulement à ses propres intérêts, j'aimerais relater quelques exemples depuis mon implication à la Chambre de commerce du Canada qui confirment le contraire. Since I've been involved with the Canadian Chamber, we've done, as a corporate citizen for the whole country, as a leading organization on business matters, we've played a key role on a few campaigns, which I think translate very well our value to the country. When I first joined, Canada was hosting Syrian refugees, and we used the Canadian Chamber Network to make connections into local communities because it was very important to provide some humanitarian support for these people fleeing the war. And we were also looking forward to inviting and hosting new members into our community. We also had a big campaign against the federal government sort of small business tax reform, which we thought was unduly targeting small businesses. And while we were for potential fiscal reform, it needs to be a more holistic approach and not target just one single sector of the economy. During Donald Trump's presidency and the tirades over NAFTA, the Canadian Chamber has played a critical role. While the federal government was dealing with the US federal government, we were dealing with state governors, sister chambers in states where the trade between Canada and the US is essential to the daily activities of all of these communities. So while we were behind the scenes, many would recognize the key role that we have played. And finally, during COVID, it is fair to say that the federal government has tapped into our policy capacity in our Ottawa office, where we have a crackerjack policy team of the best analysts around. And we were at the ready with solutions. So wage subsidies, rent subsidies, those are all sort of ideas that had emanated from the Chamber's policy group that were quickly adopted by the federal government. We were in partnership with them able to set up the Canadian Business Resiliency Network. And that was sort of us being fast out of the gate to address a situation which was totally unknown for many of us. Au niveau local, je pense aussi que ça a démontré l'importance critique des entreprises dans notre communauté. Donc, les entreprises jouent un rôle non seulement de création d'emplois, mais jouent un rôle aussi de partenaire essentiel au succès de la communauté. Les entreprises font des dons caritatifs. Les entreprises s'impliquent dans des événements sociaux. Les entreprises servent de tremplin à l'intégration des jeunes dans l'économie. So when you unpack all of what has happened over the past year, you see the critical role that businesses play in our communities and how we are all tightly weaved into the fabric of this community. And every sector of our community needs to be successful for the other ones to succeed also. And businesses are at the heart of this sort of a weaving of our community. So I think now we're facing different challenges. John suggested that the vaccines could win the war on the variants, and I share that view. Now it's us being more deliberate and going towards a new normalcy. We need to get back to the office. We need to get back to work. things will change. We might be more creative, we might be more innovative, we might have new business models, but we still need to be deliberate. And that's not only exclusively on governments and on policy, but that speaks to business leadership also. So I would hope that every major employer and smaller employer has a return to the office, a return to the downtown plan, so we can start to see the vibrancy that we so much love about our community in Greater Moncton. So on a chamber network perspective, from more of a network perspective, when I set into my mandate as chair of the board, one of my critical or 3 goals would be to focus on small businesses. And I think this applies also to our community here. On a trop souvent tendance à décrire les PME d'une seule façon et les mettre tous et toutes dans les mêmes bateaux. Les PME prennent toutes sortes de formes. Il y en a qui exportent, il y en a qui importent, il y en a qui sont des services, il y en a qui sont des produits, il y en a qui sont dans la manufacture traditionnelle, il y en a qui sont dans la manufacture de pointe. Et il y en a qui sont prêts pour le commerce électronique, il y en a qui ne sont pas prêts pour le commerce électronique. Donc, je pense que comme une organisation d'affaires, on a besoin d'avoir plus de nuances et une meilleure connaissance de nos données sur quel type de communauté d'affaires on transige avec, où sont nos opportunités d'avenir et comment peut-on être plus clair à communiquer ces attributs à nos intervenants. So I think small businesses has been a priority for me at the Canadian Chamber, and I'm adamant that we tend to bundle small businesses all in the same boat. And we tend to say poor little small business, but that's not always the case. While some are definitely struggling because of COVID, some are thriving. We need to know who exports, who imports, which ones are in the manufacturing sectors, which ones are in the service enterprises, which one is cybersecurity ready, which one is not, which one is e-commerce ready, which one is not, which one innovates, and so on and so forth. So we are working at the Canadian Chamber to have, in a partnership with Stats Canada, to have a much deeper view of the small business marketplace. After all, it's over 1 million businesses in Canada. I mean, it's a vast majority of businesses in our community. We account for 80+% of new jobs and job creation. So that's a very different mix. Whereas in the US, small businesses would account for 45% of new job creation. So we need to be more deliberate in understanding what we mean when we say small business and how we can identify the stepping stones for growth and opportunity for those businesses and for those entrepreneurs. I also think that as a chamber network, we need to be much more seamless. It doesn't really make sense to say there's Canada and there's Atlantic and there's Moncton. It should make more sense to say that there is a chamber network and we can plug and play wherever we want and wherever it's more meaningful for all of us. So some operate at the local level, some operate at the regional level, some operate at the national level. And we should be agnostic as which door we use to come into the chamber house. So that's something that we're also working on at the Canadian Chamber. We're working on a new strategic plan, which I hope and know will include a more seamless approach to members joining the different levels of the chamber, wherever you want to, wherever you live and at which level you want to play. So those are just a few thoughts where I think we can do much better. I see opportunity. The Canadian Chamber should be a content partner to the local chambers also. I know how hard it is for John and Sylvain, the communications folks, to feed the beast and keep the sites going and keep the newsletters sort of published and so on. So we could be a partner in that. We could also be a partner on the policy side. Puisqu'on a des ressources en analyse de politique à Ottawa, on devrait être mieux capable d'articuler des enjeux régionaux, des enjeux locaux aussi, et les chambres de commerce locales pourraient bénéficier de l'expertise de la Chambre de commerce du Canada et être un partenaire encore plus efficace dans les communautés où nous œuvrons. So these are all just a few thoughts, but I'd like to close on an optimistic note. I mean, Greater Moncton, we've done well, and what I like the most about our community is most of us love our community. So we have a big affection for it, and which keeps it driving forward. I would suggest also that we could be more deliberate. We could build on the economy that we have, and we could be more strategic in attracting new sectors, focusing on exports if you're local businesses, because our local market is finite, but the global market is infinite. So we can make more revenue and create more jobs here while sort of selling products and services elsewhere. We have no choice also. We need to be innovative. We cannot sort of be in the same old mode that we've always been, because there's no such thing as staying put in business, as I'm sure all of you here know. So there's a bunch of opportunities for us, but I'd just like to say thank you. J'aimerais vous remercier, la Chambre de commerce du Canada. J'étais membre de votre conseil d'administration à la fin des années 90 et au début des années 2000, donc ça ne me rajeunit pas beaucoup. Néanmoins, j'ai toujours cru que c'était une organisation essentielle à l'essor des communautés, et en voyant aussi la Chambre de commerce du Grand Moncton d'une autre perspective, la perspective de la Chambre de commerce du Canada, je peux confirmer que tel est le cas. On est très bien desservis par nos chambres de commerce, que ce soit à Moncton ou à Fredericton, à Saint-Jean, à Halifax, à Charlottetown, partout dans la région et partout dans toutes les régions du Canada. On est un partenaire essentiel à l'avenir du pays. Je pense que tout le monde reconnaîtra ça. Donc, sur ce, je vous souhaite beaucoup de succès. Je vous souhaite un autre 129 ans. So I hope we all get to live for another 129 years as the Greater Moncton Chamber. And I wish each and every one of you, entrepreneurs and business leaders, all the best for the coming year, which I know will be better than last year. Donc, merci encore de l'invitation, puis au plaisir.
Thank you, Mario, for your insights, and congratulations on representing Greater Moncton and Atlantic Canada as chair of the National Chamber Board. I would also like again to thank ExploreNet for sponsoring today's AGM. This is the point in the agenda when I deliver my remarks as chair board. It is a profound understatement to suggest last year was unique, challenging, and testing. We have lived through more than a full year of the worst global health pandemic in 100 years. There have been personal and business casualties, and we offer our thoughts and support to everyone touched by COVID-19. Your chamber had to move quickly to respond to the needs of the business community in 2020, and I'm proud to report the board of directors feels our pivot, perhaps the most used word of 2020 outside of Zoom, was on target and inclusive. The board worked closely with the chamber staff to focus our efforts on communication and advocacy. We kept a close eye on chamber programs and finances, making sure chamber staff had the resources required to respond to your needs. At the midpoint of the year, the board worked with the staff to create 3 financial forecasts for the rest of 2020, a best case, a worst case, and a middle of the road scenario. Through careful budgeting, we managed to post a positive net income for the financial year. No easy feat for anyone in 2020. As we begin to see some daylight from the pandemic as the vaccines are deployed and we win the battle against variants, there's still plenty of work to be done to rebuild the damage done to our economy. As chair of the Ccgm board, I want to ensure you that your chamber will be beside you as you rebuild and emerge stronger. We ended 2020 by crafting a new Ccgm strategic plan. And that plan seeks to provide an answer to any member who asks the question, why am I a member of the Chamber of Commerce? I would like to think that one of the answers will be because the Chamber was there when we needed them most. I want to thank every member of the Board of Directors for their commitment and diligence in 2020. The executive of the board meets every month, the full board 6 times a year, and 4 Ccgm committees meet frequently throughout the year to help steer our membership, events, advocacy, and governance activities. I also want to thank the additional volunteers that sit on our various committees and for those who perform the role as trustees for the Chamber Trust, specifically including Bill Dixon, who is stepping down after many years' service as chair of the trust. I especially want to thank our dedicated staff, who were at the forefront from day one of COVID-19, quickly transitioning to a work from home routine, but continuing to be on call for any chamber member who needed help. Xavier, Sylvain, Natasha, Ben, Mireille, and on contract, Denise and Jill. Your commitment was outstanding this past year. To Ben, who we are losing to the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and to Gilles, who will be retiring later this year, we wish you the best. To our CEO, John Wishart, a virtual standing ovation is in order in recognition of your truly incredible leadership that held fast during this incredibly challenging year. Finally, I sincerely thank all of you, our members, who continue to support the Chamber during this very difficult period. The Chamber of Commerce has been around for 130 years. Canada was only 24 years at the time we were founded. Since that time, Greater Moncton and its Chamber has seen its share of hardship. World War I, the Spanish influenza, the Great Depression, World War II, the inflation crisis, locally, the closure of the CN shops, and the recessions of the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, to name a few. And without a doubt, COVID-19 global pandemic will be included within those ranks. But as a community, we have also been blessed with strong leadership and a resilient spirit within our business community that perseveres and overcomes. Here's to a better and more prosperous future, one that we once again build together for the betterment of Greater Moncton. Now, as we come to the conclusion of this meeting, we come to the point where I ask, is there any other business to come before the meeting? Is there any other business to come before the meeting? Hearing none, I want to thank all of you who have tuned in to today's virtual AGM. Hopefully, we'll be able to see each other in person in the spring of 2020 when we hold our next annual general meeting. Everybody, please take care. I now declare the 130th annual general meeting adjourned.